Hey y'all, welcome back to Holistic Flow. I am your girl Lolo, and in this video, I'll be talking about some core beliefs and values that I have. I know that I get a lot of comments from people who have been either watching me for a while or people who just stumble across the video, or maybe you've just seen a title of the video and you decide to comment something like, hey, when you be talking about God, what God are you talking about? For anybody watching me, my intent is never to mislead anybody or say anything that throws people off. My objective is not confusion in the slightest. But I know that it's important for me to share this because you want to know the core beliefs and values so that we can be on one accord. And I just think that it's like really time to talk about certain things that I've been thinking about. So all right, cool. Let's just get this out the way. I talk a lot about faith and belief in God, my relationship with God. But first and foremost, I do believe in the resurrection of Jesus. I do believe in that Jesus is the Son of Man and the Son of God, and that we are closer to Jesus than what we perceive. I do read the Bible every single day. I'm actually on a, scavenger hunt, if you will, to catch little things in the Bible that may have been interpreted to me differently from the perspective of when I was a child, when I was in church, when I was reading it along with a Bible study or a pastor or whatnot, and what religion actually has instilled in some of us that may not be the healthiest. To me, religion is a set of rules, regulations, and customs that human mind has been conformed, a lot of human minds have been conformed into thinking into a box. Religion intersects with a lot of the ways in which we think, not just beliefs. I want us to think about it like religion intersects with government, like religion intersects with politics. Religion intersects with some parts of racism, some parts of like our identity. It affects more than just our spiritual beliefs, even though religion isn't spiritual to me. So I just want to start off with that. A lot of us are looking at life through like a filter. Like, you know, those Instagram filters that you be using, you know what I'm saying? Once you be posting your pictures, that's a lot of our views on life. And what we decide is right and what we decide is wrong is often not decided by what actually is right or wrong, because we will never fully know right or wrong. What we can do is have a relationship with God, which is spirit. The reason why we can't lean on our understanding is because we're supposed to keep on seeking that understanding, not from a human perspective, but from a spiritual perspective. And that's why we need our divine wisdom through prayer and meditation. Now, I believe that like literally meditating on the words that God is telling us is key. But also I realize that anxiety is something that runs rampant, especially in the younger community. And if we don't find a way to lower our heart rate, lower our blood pressure, slow down our breathing throughout the day, and regulate our thoughts and emotions, we have to take autonomy over our physical body. And so when people start to tell me that yoga and meditation is perceived as something that is not of God, it honestly disheartens me, one. And then it also makes me see how the disconnect with health and literally vitality is largely proportionate with the amount of like religious trauma that people have endured, including myself. Everything that comes from God is good. And unfortunately, a lot of good things have been perverted through the lens of human beings, like through the lens of society, honestly. So for me, I quickly realized that the intention with what something is being used is just that. It's the intended purpose. And that outcome of that thing ends up being from the intention of the person's heart. Ephesians 6:12, right? We're not battling against flesh and blood, but we're battling against things that we can't see in the heavenly realms, in the spiritual realms. We're battling against evil entities that we can't see physically. So a lot of people have told me that, you know, meditation and yoga is evil because it opens up portals to evil entities. A lot of people have demons that they're battling just in their own everyday lives. And that could be something like depression. Depression could be a demon that somebody's battling. Anxiety. Like literally, like somebody that you live with who is just negative all the time and they're bringing you down. Like, they are energies. And those might be smaller demons to some people, but to other people, those rule over your life. Okay? And imagine sitting with that. And again, that's something that you can't see. Like, you can't see other people's demons or the negativity that is in their life. It might come up in certain ways in which they behave, but literally a lot of people, I would say most people, are dealing with physical baggages that are weighing them down that they are running from. From my own experience, meditation and yoga is a practice that allows yourself to be more vulnerable to the spiritual realm, right? And get this, the spiritual realm has evil and good in it, because it's both. The scripture says that we're battling against evil in the heavenly realms. Now, one would say that evil in the heavenly realms? Why is evil in the heavenly realms if heaven is supposed to be somewhere that people go when they die? That's good, because all good things come from God, but evil is there. And all around us, there are angels, there are demons, or, spiritual entities that we perceive as such because we don't fight against them physically. They are spiritual. So if one would go to meditate and they become more aware of the fact that anxiety is ruling over their life, over the fact that there's something holding them down negatively that they need to surrender, let go of, like they need to forgive themselves, they need to forgive somebody else. But I will also say that I understand that yoga is a practice that some of the poses are based off of gods and goddesses of Hindu origin, and that some of the poses were made to even worship those gods and goddesses. I'm a yoga teacher. I've studied yoga and the philosophies and the backgrounds. What people don't understand is that in everyday life, we practice things that are from other religions. We practice things that were originally intended for a purpose that we don't believe in. But because we're not aware of that original intention, it doesn't have an impact in our life. Let's just be honest. We're getting really honest here. We're getting really down to the weeds of this. For example, a big one is Valentine's Day. The image of Cupid is based off of Roman and Greek. They're called different names in Roman and in Greece, but they're the same mythology. But, the guy shoots a bow and arrow and it lands in his mother, basically. And he, has sexual relationships with his mother.
Valentine's Day is a hybrid holiday combined of symbolic to Lupercalia, as well as the celebration of Cupid and Venus, aka Nimrod, and Semiramis, aka Esther. And so this is why Cupid has the bow and arrow to symbolize Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter who used the bow and arrow on his own mother. And then what they don't tell you about Cupid is Cupid had two arrows. He had the golden tipped arrows, which was to make you fall in love, and then the blunt tipped arrows, which was to make you fall out of love. And if you read the story of Cupid, he was basically like a mischievous demon. He was actually considered a demon because Nimrod is considered the king of demons. And what Cupid would do was, for his own diabolical satisfaction, he would ruin people's relationships. So he might see you in a 10-year marriage or a 10-year relationship and come make you fall in love with your brother. And now you in incest. You know what I'm saying? Or this, that, and third. And if you look at the paintings of Cupid, whenever he's finna use the blunt tip arrow, he has the blindfolds on. And so Cupid, in ancient Greece and Rome, was used as an excuse for sexual deviancy. So a man might marry his cousin or marry his sister, and they say love is blind. And this is where that saying comes from, love is blind, because Cupid got the blindfolds on. And so Cupid is a emotionally chaotic demonic entity that we celebrate. And as far as the Valentine's letters, those come from Saint Valentine, who was persecuted by the Roman government, I believe during the 5th century, because what happened was the emperor at the time, he didn't allow men to marry women because he believed that if men were in love and they were a part of the military, that they would fight harder since their lovers was on the battlefield. And so what Valentine was doing was secretly allowing men to be with women, and the Roman government found out, and they sentenced him to death. And before he died, he wrote a love letter to the woman that he loved, and he started that letter off as "Your dear Valentine." So when you in school and you got the kids writing Valentine letters, you actually writing death notes. When you're celebrating Cupid, you celebrating sexual deviancy, immorality, and pedophilia, because Cupid is a pedophile deity as well as an emotional deviant deity.
And there's a lot of things that are just based upon things that we know nothing about. But if you still celebrate Valentine's Day, does now knowing that it's originated on pedophilia change your perception about what you believe? I don't believe in those Hindu gods and goddesses. I only believe in one God, and I only celebrate one God. Yoga is not evil. Meditation is not evil. The practice of it isn't. And every single thing that we do, that we practice it is with the intent of which we're practicing. The thing that gets me is that Jesus was all about your heart posture. And a lot of other religions, a lot of other spiritual practices, even a lot of other mythologies center around this idea that you are being weighed constantly. Your heart is being weighed. The posture of your heart, or the goodness of your heart, is constantly being measured. One would think, that is how God judges people, off the posture of your heart. That is what Jesus was all about warning people about. Like all of these rules that y'all have in place, talking to the Pharisees, if you know about Jesus telling parables to children and then confronting the Pharisees in the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it's all about letting people know that, hey, look, you need to get rid of all these human rules that you believe in. It's all about releasing all the physical rules and everything that we perceive that's good, because we can't lean on our own understanding with things. We have to seek the knowledge or the wisdom, which is higher than human knowledge, of God about certain things. And just because what you went through is your story, is your experience with it, doesn't mean that that experience is tangible to everybody else who's experiencing it, because everybody else's reason for doing what they are doing is different than your reason for you doing what you're doing. If I have a skill set, if I have a gift that God has imparted in me, and just because you've tried to practice that gift or hone into that gift or talent and it did not work for you, or it was even detrimental to you, does not mean that everyone else that you see doing that gift is detrimental to them. And that is why I say, like, literally, if there's anything that, I say that does not resonate with people, seek that for yourself. What is God saying to you? What resonates with you? I definitely believe in seeking wise counsel, but we're leaning too much on what we understand, and we're not seeing like the bigger picture of things. Life is bigger than us. Spirit is bigger than us. And there are so many things that we perceive as bad that happens that is really part of the process of getting to the root of things, like releasing trauma, releasing baggage, releasing those demons that are there, but you need to surrender and let God handle that. Like, literally, in conclusion, if you didn't get the gist of this video, if you didn't get the message, here it is. They yo damn demons. Okay, that I just had to say it. I think this is something that affects marginalized communities a lot, because people fear things that take them outside of their comfort zone, outside of their religion. And that's what I was talking about in the beginning of the video, because a lot of religious traumas have affected the ways in which people help themselves, like help themselves heal, help themselves just release. And we, again, have to take autonomy over our own body. If you're not able to regulate your breathing, if you're having anxiety attacks, if your mind isn't being able to focus throughout the day, if you're not directing your mind, it's a discipline of your mind as well. There's so many things health-wise that we neglect to do for ourselves, and diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, which is the same thing as high blood pressure, heart rate conditions, all of those run rampant in the Black and brown communities, which just so happen to be highly religious based communities. I just really want to point that out. If you believe that whatever you're doing is opening up a portal, try to see if singling out evil as opening that portal up to evil is serving you when evil is in the heavenly realms. Just think about it. How do you think the serpent got into the Garden of Eden if the Garden of Eden is supposed to be a place that was a reflection of humans' union with God? If evil and good are not in the same realm, all in the realm of things that we cannot see. That's never happened to me before. I've never meditated and saw any demons or anything. But if that's happening to you, I would recommend that, stop doing that. Evaluate what's going on in your life, what's going on at home, what fears are in place mentally, and how can you release those fears? Because in believing those very things that I just said, we actually ignore the other biblical things that are in place to protect us from spiritual warfare, which is that, like, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So if you're fearing, I don't know, hell or whatever you fear, or evil or demons, but they're sitting right next to you, how does that help you? We have to release whatever that is. And sometimes just telling somebody to believe in Jesus doesn't do that. So if you don't believe me about the whole Bible thing and the whole scriptures thing, I was referring to some words that have been translated from Hebrew to English. What happened was there were scholars that sat around at a table and literally voted on what the word would mean when it was translated into English. I'm not saying that, they didn't do a good job, but a lot of it in the Bible is very inaccurate. And so if you don't believe me, you can go to the Bible Project by Tim Mackey, I believe his name is, and I've been watching a lot of his videos. But if you want to see the rest of this video, I'll be talking about a couple other things and diving a little bit more in depth. You can go on to my Patreon. So if you really like this video, boom, thumbs it up, and I hope to see you in the next video. But until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, and joy to you, your family, and your friends. All right, y'all. Peace. His life correlates to a lot of our lives, that like every single day we have to give up something. We give up, we sacrifice things, probably not in the form of death, but like whether it's something that we like to eat, we fast. You know what I'm saying? We give up in order for God to teach us that it's not valuable to hold on to physical things. Your job, right? So there's sometimes things that we have to sacrifice or let go of, surrender, so that we can enter into the season that God has us enter into, because we can't hold on to those physical things and enter into a new spiritual season, because those physical things are physical and not spiritual. And so our life literally is about sacrifice, just like Jesus.